The day everything fell apart didn't begin with storms or warning signs. It started quietly, the way most tragedies do. Dawn slipped through the curtains of a home that once felt warm, though now it carried a chill no sunlight could touch. Mira had already been awake for an hour. If this story touched your heart, friends, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more touching stories. Thank you for being here. Moving through the kitchen with practiced silence, she cracked eggs into a pan, set toast in the warmer, and brewed the dark roast her husband preferred. 2 scoops, never more, never less. She had learned over time to move like a ghost. The quieter she was, the fewer the criticisms that followed. At exactly 6:05 a.m., she heard the familiar creak of the staircase. Darius descended dressed in a crisp shirt that still held the scent of ironing starch. He didn't look at her, not even once, as she set his steaming mug in front of him. "Coffee's strong," he muttered, tasting a sip without bothering to hide his displeasure. "I'll adjust it tomorrow," Mira said softly, hands clasped to steady her nerves. He didn't answer. Instead, he scrolled through his phone while absent-mindedly pushing the breakfast she made around the plate. Mira remained standing near the table, waiting in case he needed anything. In their home, she existed as an accessory, useful only when convenient. The silence clung to the walls. Once upon a time, breakfast had been their favorite hour of the day. They would talk, laugh, dream about the future. But those memories felt like someone else's life, one she had watched through a window rather than lived. "Is Leela up?" Darius asked. "Yes, she's brushing her hair. She'll be down in a minute," Mira replied. As if on cue, the sound of small feet patted down the stairs. 7-year-old Leela appeared in her neatly pressed school uniform, bright-eyed and smiling, a radiant spark in a house that had dimmed for far too long. "Good morning, Mommy. Good morning, Daddy," she chirped, before kissing Mira's cheek. Darius set his phone aside long enough to smile at their daughter, a real smile, one he never offered Mira anymore. "Good morning, sweetheart. Eat quickly. I'll drive you today." Leela's face lit up. "Really? You haven't in a long time." Mira exhaled quietly. Leela adored any scrap of attention her father gave, and Mira was grateful Darius still tried, at least for their daughter's sake, even if his warmth seemed reserved only for one of them. After breakfast, Darius rose instantly, grabbed his work bag, pressed a quick kiss to Leela's forehead, and headed out. He passed Mira without acknowledgement, as though she were part of the furniture. When the door shut and the rumble of his car faded, the house felt suffocatingly large again. Mira spent her morning the way she always did, cleaning, sorting laundry, wiping counters, work that never ended, work no one saw or valued. She told herself if she tried harder, maybe the old Darius would show up again, the one who held her hand just because, the one who used to laugh with her, not at her. But by noon, life delivered a blow she could never have prepared for. A courier arrived with a thick envelope from a law office. Inside, a petition for divorce. Pages upon pages filled with accusations, neglect, irresponsibility, emotional instability, and worst of all, a demand for full custody of Leela. Mira's breath shattered, her world tilted. Every step she had taken, every sacrifice she had made, had been rewritten as failure. And she had no idea the nightmare was only beginning. Because just as Mira broke down on the living room floor, the front door clicked open. Darius stood there, looking at the papers in her shaking hands, and the cold smile on his face revealed this betrayal had been planned far longer than she ever suspected. The papers slid from Mira's trembling hands, scattering across the hardwood like fallen leaves. She barely had time to breathe before the front door opened again. Darius stepped inside earlier than usual, loosening his tie as if returning from any ordinary workday. But when his eyes dropped to the documents on the floor, something unsettling flickered across his face. Not surprise, satisfaction. "So," he said calmly, shutting the door behind him, "you've seen it." Mira pushed herself to her knees, her breath unsteady. "Darius, what is this? A divorce? Full custody? You're accusing me of being unfit?" "Yes," he answered plainly, as if reading from a script. "True," her heart stung. "True? I've given everything to this family. I gave up my job because you said Leela needed stability. I run this home alone. How can you say I failed?" Darius walked past her, unbothered by the devastation sprawled across the floor. He went straight to the kitchen, poured himself a glass of water, and finally looked at her with an expression so cold it made her flinch. "You don't contribute financially, and the house is always a mess." "That's not fair," she whispered. "You know I was sick when those photos were taken." "Excuses," he cut in sharply. "You want people to feel sorry for you? Go ahead. It won't change anything." She stared up at him, confused and terrified. "What do you mean?" Darius took a slow drink, eyes never leaving hers. "My lawyer has everything needed to prove you're unstable. Photos, statements, character references, even expert testimony." Her stomach twisted. "What expert?" "You'll see," he said coolly. Her pulse raced. "Darius, why are you doing this? Why rip our family apart?" He leaned against the counter and looked down at her, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "She will testify otherwise." Her blood ran cold. "What are you talking about? She's 7. A slow, cruel smile formed on his lips. "Children can say what they're told to say." Her entire body trembled. "You wouldn't." "Get ready for the hearing," he said, standing back up. "Everything you think you know is about to be rewritten." He walked past her again, leaving her kneeling amid torn pieces of her life. She felt the walls closing in, the room spinning. The man she once loved had become unrecognizable, a stranger willing to destroy her without blinking. That night, Mira sat on the edge of her bed long after Darius locked himself in the guest room. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't think. All she could do was listen to the steady breathing of her daughter sleeping beside her, completely unaware of the storm gathering around them. Tomorrow, she promised herself, she would fight. She had to, even if she had nothing left but the determination to protect her child. But when Mira finally opened their joint bank account the next morning, she discovered something that made her knees buckle. Every cent had vanished, and the trail led somewhere she never expected. Mira barely slept. Every hour of the night felt like a battle between fear and fury. By morning, her eyes were swollen, but her resolve was sharp enough to pierce through the haze. If Darius wanted a war, she would not enter it blind. The first thing she did after Leela left for school was open the banking app on her phone. Their joint account, the one they'd built slowly over 10 years, was supposed to hold enough for emergencies, tuition, and savings. It was her only hope of hiring a lawyer. But when the balance loaded, Mira's breath stopped. $0.00. She blinked, refreshed the page, logged out, logged back in. Still zero. Her stomach twisted into knots as she clicked on the transaction history. What she saw made her vision blur. Over the last 6 months, Darius had been withdrawing money in increments, slowly at first, then rapidly. Transfers, large ones, all routed to an account number she didn't recognize. The final withdrawal cleared everything 3 days ago. Her hands shook violently. He didn't just file for divorce. He didn't just try to take Leela. He had drained every last dollar without her knowing. A robbery wearing the mask of a marriage. Mira pressed her fist against her mouth to stop a scream. She remembered the nights he said he was working late, the sudden locked drawers in his office, the dismissive tone whenever she asked about finances. It all made sense now. Her wedding jewelry was next on her mind. She rushed to the closet, tugging open the small jewelry box she'd kept tucked away. Empty. The heirloom necklace from her grandmother, gone. The gold bangles Darius gifted her in their early years, gone. Even the bracelet Leela made for her in kindergarten, gone. It felt like he had stolen pieces of her life, not just money. Her breath hitched as despair clawed at her, threatening to swallow her whole. Hiring a lawyer was impossible now. Surviving might even become difficult. Then a name surfaced in her mind like a life raft. Tessa, her childhood friend who worked at a small legal aid clinic across town. They hadn't spoken in months, but Mira had no pride left to protect. She dialed her number with trembling fingers. Tessa answered on the third ring. Mira? Hey, it's been forever. Are you okay? The dam broke. Mira told her everything, not with perfect order, but with raw desperation. Tessa listened without interrupting, her voice tightening with each detail. Mira, she said when the story ended, he planned this. All of it. And it's criminal. I know, Mira whispered, her voice cracking, but I don't have money for an attorney. I don't have anything. You don't need a high-end attorney, Tessa said firmly. You need someone honest, someone who actually cares. There's a lawyer I know, Mr. Rowan. Small office, not fancy, but he's brilliant and he's helped women in worse situations than this. I'll text you his address. Go today. Are you sure? Mira asked, afraid to hope. He won't turn you away, Tessa assured her. And Mira, don't give up, not yet. After hanging up, Mira grabbed her purse, still shaking, and stepped outside. The world looked the same, children biking, people walking dogs, but her reality had collapsed overnight. The address Tessa sent led to an aging strip mall, faded paint, cracked windows, a crooked sign that read, Rowan Family Law. It looked nothing like the polished offices of Darius's legal team, but Mira stepped inside anyway. Mr. Rowan, a soft-spoken man with silver hair and gentle eyes, listened to her story without judgment, taking notes with meticulous care. His office smelled of old paper and peppermint tea. Mira, he said quietly after she finished, this isn't a simple divorce. Your husband is attempting to manipulate the system and he has prepared aggressively, but that doesn't mean he wins. Tears welled up. I don't have money to pay. He interrupted kindly. We'll discuss that later. Right now, we focus on protecting you and your daughter. For the first time in days, Mira felt the faintest spark of hope. But that hope flickered when Mr. Rowan opened the file from Darius's attorney, revealing photographs, fabricated financial statements, and a chilling expert report from a child specialist Mira had never even met. Mr. Rowan adjusted his glasses and opened the thick folder from Darius's legal team. Mira leaned forward, her pulse thudding in her ears. She expected exaggerations, maybe twisted narratives, but nothing prepared her for what she saw. The very first page held glossy photographs of her home. Not the home she knew with its freshly swept floors and carefully organized shelves. These photos showed chaos, dirty dishes stacked in the sink, laundry scattered across the hallway, toys covering nearly every inch of the living room floor. This isn't real, Mira stammered, reaching for the photos with trembling hands. These were taken on the 3 days I was sick with the flu. I could barely stand. Darius refused to help with anything. Mr. Rowan frowned. Your husband is presenting them as evidence of long-term neglect. That's a lie, she whispered, tears pricking her eyes. He set the photos aside and pulled out a stack of printed bank statements. The numbers glared up at her like accusations. Dozens of charges for luxury handbags, designer jewelry, and upscale restaurants all under her name. I didn't buy any of this, Mira gasped. I've never even been to these places. You said your credit card was an additional card on his account, correct? Yes. He kept it most of the time. He told me he needed it because his main card hit the limit with work expenses. Rowan nodded grimly, tapping the papers.
These purchases were deliberately made with your card to create a financial trail against you. This is intentional sabotage, Mira. Her breath came out as a strangled sound. She knew Darius was cold. She knew he was distancing himself. But this level of deceit, of premeditated cruelty, it was beyond anything she imagined. And now, Rowan continued with a sigh, pulling out the final document, we arrive at the most damaging part. Mira stared at the thick report as if it were a loaded weapon. What is that? She asked, fearing the answer. A psychological evaluation, supposedly conducted over several weeks by a certified child specialist, Dr. Helena Voss. I've never met her. Never, not once. How could she evaluate anything about me? Rowan flipped through the pages, each line darker than the last. According to her report, she observed you and your daughter in public places, parks, the school pickup area, stores. She claims to have witnessed you displaying emotional instability, inconsistent behavior, and episodes of panic around your daughter. That's not true, she cried. If I ever raised my voice or panicked, it was because I was afraid Leela might get hurt. What mother doesn't react when their child runs toward danger? Rowan nodded, but his expression remained troubled. Her language is clinical and convincing. She describes you as volatile, overwhelmed, and psychologically unfit for primary custody. Volatile? Mira whispered, stunned. Overwhelmed? He slid the report to her and her eyes glazed over the bolded conclusion. Recommendation, full custody to the father for the child's emotional well-being. Mira's chest tightened so sharply she had to grip the arm of the chair to stay steady. She's lying, Mira said through clenched teeth. This woman doesn't know me. She doesn't know us. Rowan folded his hands thoughtfully. The report is polished, too polished. It reads like someone coached her on exactly what the court would want to see. You think Darius is involved? Mira asked. I think, Rowan said slowly, that this woman didn't just magically observe you. Someone hired her, someone guided her, and someone benefited from her conclusions. Mira's stomach twisted. She remembered the unfamiliar perfume on Darius's shirt, the late nights, the sudden secrecy. Pieces of a darker truth began to fall into place. Rowan closed the file with a heavy sigh. We can fight this, but it won't be easy. His case is built on layers of lies that appear convincing on the surface. Mira wiped her cheeks, breath trembling. I'll fight anyway. I have to. Rowan nodded. Then prepare yourself, because things are going to get worse before they get better. And worse came faster than Mira expected, because that night, Darius walked through the front door with a gift for Leela, and a cruel message hidden underneath the wrapping paper.
That evening, Mira waited anxiously for Darius and Leela to return from school. She had baked Leela's favorite vanilla cupcakes, something small to distract herself from the terror clawing at her heart. But with every passing minute, her nerves tightened. By 6 o'clock, there was still no sign of them. By 7, her chest ached from worry. By 8, her hands trembled so badly she could barely hold her phone. She dialed Darius repeatedly, but each call went straight to voicemail. She finally rang the school only to hear the words that made her legs falter. Leela was picked up by her father this afternoon. Picked up without telling her. By 9 o'clock, Mira nearly collapsed when the front door finally opened. Leela burst inside laughing, her arms full of colorful bags from some amusement park. Darius followed behind her, looking relaxed, smug even. Mommy! Leela squealed before Mira could utter a word. Daddy took me to Skyline Adventure Park. We rode the big carousel and got ice cream twice. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Mira said, forcing a smile as she crouched down to hug her daughter. Beneath her relief, anger simmered so hot she could barely speak. Why didn't Daddy tell me he was taking you? She skipped toward the living room, completely oblivious to the tension thickening the air. Mira's smile dropped the moment her daughter's back was turned. Darius,
she hissed under her breath. "You should have called. You scared me half to death." He shrugged off his jacket casually. "It was a spontaneous trip. You had her for 5 hours without telling me." He leaned in with mocking calm. "So? She's my child too. Or have you forgotten?" Mir's throat tightened. "That's not what this is about. I'm her mother. You should have told me where you were. And you," he said smoothly, stepping closer, "should get used to having less time with her. That's what will happen soon enough." Her breath caught. "You're already poisoning her mind, aren't you?" He raised a brow. "Poisoning? Please, I'm just giving her a life you never could." Mira's eyes flicked to his shirt, and something made her freeze. A scent. Faint, but unmistakable. Floral, sweet, and unfamiliar. It wasn't hers. It wasn't his cologne. It belonged to someone else. Her stomach dropped. "Who was with you?" she whispered. Darius's expression sharpened, then morphed into a cold, smug grin. He leaned close enough for her to smell the perfume more clearly. "You're asking the wrong questions, Mira. The only thing you should be asking is how you plan to explain to the judge why your daughter prefers living with me." Her heart stuttered. "She doesn't." "Oh, but she will," he cut in. "Kids adapt quickly when they're given the right incentives." As if on cue, Leila came skipping back into the room, holding a neatly wrapped box with a glittery bow. "Mommy, look," she said. "Daddy bought me the newest Aurora pad, the one with the magic camera." "That's just for you," Darius told Leila warmly, while keeping his eyes locked cruelly on Mira. "But when you live with me, sweetie, you'll get something new every week." Mira felt her composure crack. She wanted to scream, to tear the smug expression off his face. But she forced herself to breathe. She could not let him provoke her, not when he had already planted lies about her emotional state. Leila went upstairs to set up her new tablet. Darius straightened his sleeves. "You can't win, Mira. Everything is already in place." She stared at him, chilled to her bones. "Why are you doing this?" He stepped backward toward the staircase, his voice low and poisonous. "Because you're in my way." Then he disappeared upstairs, leaving Mira standing alone in the living room, heart splintering with fear. But later that night, as Mira checked on Leila for bed, she found something hidden under her daughter's pillow. An old, cracked tablet, still recording. And what was stored inside would change everything. The house finally fell quiet around 10. Mira stood in the doorway of Leila's room, watching her daughter sleep peacefully, unaware of the storm swirling around her. Darius had locked himself in the guest room, his new habit ever since the divorce papers appeared. Mira didn't know if he was texting his lawyer, that mysterious specialist, or the woman's perfume she'd smelled earlier. But she knew one thing.
The next morning arrived too quickly. Mira barely slept, replaying the damning footage over and over in her mind. The old tablet, scratched, cracked, nearly falling apart, now felt like the most precious object in the house, a weapon sharp enough to cut through every lie Darius had crafted. She hid it beneath her mattress before dawn, checking twice to make sure it was still there. But when she went back to confirm a third time, her breath hitched. The space beneath the mattress was empty. Cold panic surged through her veins. "No, no, no," she whispered, tearing apart the bed. Sheets flew, pillows landed on the floor. She looked under the nightstand, behind the dresser, even under her own shoes. Nothing.
the tablet, Lila's evidence, was gone. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely hear her own thoughts. Who took it? Did Darius find it? But how? She'd been with Lila the entire evening. Had he searched her room while she slept? A soft knock sounded on the bedroom door. "Mira?" Darius's voice was calm. Too calm. "We need to talk. The court moved our hearing. It's been rescheduled for this afternoon." Mira froze. Afternoon? That was impossibly soon. He must have pushed for it. That meant he was confident, dangerously confident. He knows. He knows I have something, or he knows I had something. She forced herself to inhale. Then she opened the door. Darius stood there with a mug in his hand, as if he were offering peace, zen-like, serene. It made her skin crawl. The judge had an opening earlier than expected. It's perfect timing, isn't it? We can get this over with. Mira clenched the doorframe to steady herself. "Where's Lila?" "She's in the kitchen eating cereal. Relax, I'm not kidnapping her. Not yet, anyway." His eyes dropped to her trembling hands. "You look nervous. Something on your mind?" The question was too pointed, too deliberate. He knew. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to scream, to fight, anything except let him see the fear in her eyes. Instead, she straightened her spine and looked directly at him. "I'm not afraid of you, Darius," she lied. He chuckled softly. "You should be." Then he walked away, his footsteps slow and taunting. Mira closed the door, her mind spinning. The tablet was gone, but she still remembered every word in that video, every laugh, every plan, every confession. Mr. Rowan needed to know immediately. She grabbed her purse and rushed down the hall. Lila sat at the table swinging her legs, her curls bouncing as she ate her cereal. "Mommy, you okay?" she asked, noticing her mother's pale face. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Stay here. I'll be back in a minute." But as she reached the front door, Darius stepped in her path. "Going somewhere?" he asked lightly. "To get air." "You look like you're going to your lawyer, and that would be inconvenient." Her heart stuttered. "Move." Instead, he leaned one arm against the doorframe, barring her exit. "Here's what's going to happen. We go to court today. You crumble, just like you always do, and the judge gives me exactly what I want." Mira stared at him, fury rising through her fear. "You can erase evidence, you can hide what you stole, but you can't rewrite what you did." He leaned close enough for her to smell that same unfamiliar perfume again. "Can't I?" Footsteps pattered behind them. "Daddy? Mommy? Why are you arguing?" Darius stepped aside instantly, expression transforming into fatherly warmth. "We're not arguing, sweetheart. Your mom is just emotional." Mira bit the inside of her cheek so hard she tasted blood. He was performing again. She had hours, maybe less, to find another way to expose him. But how do you fight a man who has already stolen your weapons? Mira didn't know the answer until a small voice whispered to her on the way to court. "Mommy, I hid something else, just in case." The drive to the courthouse felt like a slow descent into darkness. Darius insisted they take one car, to show unity, though Mira suspected it was really so she couldn't slip away to Rowan beforehand. Lila sat in the back seat, swinging her legs nervously, glancing between her parents as if she sensed the tension tightening like a rope around the car. Mira kept her gaze on the passing streets, frantically trying to think of a plan. The missing tablet haunted her thoughts. Without it, her evidence was gone. Rowan would only have her word against Darius's polished lies and the fabricated psychological report. An impossible battle. She felt the edge of despair creeping in, until a tiny voice broke through. "Mummy?" Lila whispered. Mira turned slightly in her seat. "Yes, sweetheart?" Lila leaned forward, lowering her voice as if afraid the car itself might tell on her. "I knew Daddy was being sneaky, so I saved another video. I didn't put it on the broken tablet. I put it somewhere else. A chill ran through Mira's entire body. What do you mean somewhere else? She whispered urgently. Lila hesitated, then reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small pink object, a tiny plastic charm shaped like a heart. It looked like a toy, but when she unclicked the top, Mira's eyes widened. Inside was a miniature memory card, a hidden one, something Darius would never have checked. I recorded them again, Lila whispered. The day Daddy took me to the park, that lady was there too. She said mean things about you. Mira felt tears sting her eyes, not from sorrow, but from a sudden burst of fierce, burning hope. You did so good, sweetheart, she whispered, squeezing her daughter's hand. Darius glanced into the rearview mirror. Everything okay back there? Mira straightened instantly. She's fine. Her mind raced. She needed to get this memory card to Rowan, but Darius wouldn't leave her alone, not even for a second. When they reached the courthouse parking lot, Darius opened Mira's door with forced politeness. Let's not make a scene today. The judge is watching. She ignored him. Instead, she bent to tie Lila's shoelace, long enough to whisper, when we get inside, stay close to Mommy. Don't give anything to Daddy. Not a word about the charm, okay? Lila nodded, clutching her small bag protectively. The courthouse loomed above them. Granite, cold, sterile. Darius walked confidently, greeting people like he owned the building. Mira's heart hammered. She needed a way to break away, even for a moment. Just before they reached the doors, she spotted him. Mr. Rowan, standing near the entrance with a folder under his arm, scanning the crowd anxiously. Relief swept through her like a tidal wave. But Darius reached out and gripped her arm gently, his voice low. Stay beside me. Mira forced a trembling smile. Of course. Lila tugged her sleeve. Mommy, I need the bathroom. Darius rolled his eyes. Now? Yes, Mira interjected quickly. We'll meet you inside. Before he could protest, she took Lila's hand and hurried away. They ducked into the hallway near the restrooms, where Rowan appeared seconds later, breathless. Mira, thank God, I thought something happened. Her hands shook as she pulled the tiny charm from Lila's pocket and pressed it into his palm. Rowan, she whispered, voice trembling with urgency, this may be the only proof we have. You need to watch it now. Rowan opened the charm, saw the memory card, and his eyes widened. Where did... No time. Please, if it's what I think it is, it exposes everything. Rowan closed his fingers around it, face grave. Stay here. Do not let him out of your sight. I'll be back in minutes. He rushed to the evidence room. Mira exhaled shakily and hugged Lila tight. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Minutes later, Rowan returned, ashen, stunned, and whispered, Mira, the footage changes everything. But Darius just filed an emergency motion that could take Lila from you today.
Rowan's expression alone told Mira everything before he even spoke. His usually calm, steady features were tight with urgency, his breath unsteady as if he had run the entire length of the courthouse. Mira, he whispered, glancing over his shoulder to ensure no one was within earshot. The footage, it's undeniable. It shows Darius coaching Helena. It shows him bribing her. It shows intent to commit custody fraud. It is more powerful than anything we could have hoped for. Hope flared in Mira's chest, but it lasted only a heartbeat. However, Rowan continued grimly, Darius filed an emergency ex parte motion 10 minutes ago. He's claiming Lila is unsafe with you. If the judge grants it, they could remove her from your custody today. Mira felt her legs go weak. He's trying to take her right now, before any evidence is shown? That's exactly why he filed now, Rowan said. He's trying to blindside the court before we can present the recordings. Her pulse thundered through her ears. She clutched Lila closer, feeling her daughter's small arms wrap instinctively around her waist. Mommy, she whispered, are they going to take me away? No, Mira said instantly, kneeling down and holding her daughter's face.
No, sweetheart, I won't let that happen. Rowan placed a steadying hand on Mira's shoulder. Listen carefully. We have one chance, one shot to get the judge to listen before the motion is finalized. We need to be composed, factual, and absolutely unshakable. Darius is counting on you to panic or snap. Do not give him what he wants. Mira nodded, drawing a slow, steady breath. She could still feel fear clawing at her insides, but beneath it, something stronger was rising. Resolve. They entered the courtroom moments later. Darius was already seated at his attorney's table, chatting casually with Helena, the so-called child specialist, who looked colder and more calculating than ever. When she spotted Mira, her lips curled into a quiet smirk. Darius didn't even try to hide his confidence. He leaned back in his chair, arms folded, eyes gleaming with triumph. Did you sleep well? You should enjoy the last few hours you have with her. Mira ignored him. For the first time, his words no longer pierced her, because she knew something he didn't. The truth was finally on her side. The judge entered, and the hearing began. Darius's attorney launched into a dramatic speech, painting Mira as unstable, neglectful, unfit. He waved photos, he cited fake purchases, he referenced Helena's manufactured report. Every detail was polished, rehearsed, and dripping with poisonous confidence. Mira kept her expression neutral, just as Rowan instructed. Finally, the judge turned toward her. Mrs. Hale, do you have anything to present in response before I make a ruling on the emergency motion? Rowan stood. Yes, Your Honor. We have critical evidence that must be viewed immediately. Evidence of tampering, fraud, and perjury committed by Mr. Hale and Dr. Voss. The room shifted. Darius stiffened, turning sharply toward Rowan. Helena's face lost its smugness. Rowan approached the bench and handed over a USB drive, the one containing Lila's hidden memory card footage. As this material involves potential criminal activity, I request it be reviewed privately in the judge's chambers before any ruling is made. Darius shot to his feet. Your Honor, this is outrageous. Sit down, Mr. Hale, the judge snapped. 20 minutes. That's how long the judge was gone. Mira spent each second holding Lila's hand, whispering calming words, while Darius paced at the opposite table, growing paler with every passing minute. When the judge finally returned, his expression was thunder. He sat heavily and looked straight at Darius. Mr. Hale, you are hereby denied emergency custody. Furthermore, I am ordering an immediate investigation into your actions and into Dr. Voss's involvement. Until further notice, full temporary custody is awarded to Mrs. Hale. Darius's mouth opened in shock. Helena visibly blanched. Mira almost collapsed in relief. The gavel struck. It was over. Or rather, it was finally beginning. Because now, Darius had to face the consequences of everything he had done. If this story touched your heart, friends, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more touching stories. Thank you for being here.